Good morning, everybody. It's been, like almost a couple of weeks before I'm done a live. Yep, I'm back. Oh, I heard the place. So it's your man Rico. It's on here. This is a particular live that I want to do this morning. It's particularly brisk, been pretty cool this morning. Well, not cool, but you can feel it. Like a nice little breeze. And thought I'd come on and come back and doing lives, because a lot of stuff that's been happening, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Tino, good morning, sir. And hold on a second, brother. And so let me turn this down so somebody try to call in. But so I know I hadn't done any lives on this page for been a couple of days. Well, for now, I've been like over a week, almost like 2 weeks, because I've just came from this weekend. Right on, love you too, cuzzo. I came from this weekend. I attended the funeral of one of my nephews. I only have 2 biological nephews. I have a couple by marriage, but my brother has a son. Shout out to LaTerrell. And my sister had a son, LaTerrell. And that's the one who passed away. Well, he was murdered. As the stories came out, I got the news of his death on the 8th of this month. But when stuff like that happens, when you find somebody, when it's reported that he's found, dead in a house in this little place, and reportedly, when his body was discovered, it had flies around him and stuff, meaning that he had been dead probably 2 or 3 days. So it was reported on the 8th, but they have on the funeral flyer that his death was on June 8th. But I think it was a few days before that. If you find a decomposed body, that's not the time of death. That's good morning, Dwayne. It's not the time of death. It's just, I guess, when the time they discovered the body. And you got the full story and all. Finally got some kind of semblance of what happened. Basically robbery, shot in the back, killed, body left there. And, how young men tend to go down these paths. And I think he went down that particular path. And when you make those life choices, that path tends to catch up with you. But I want to give a little background on who this dude, who my nephew was. Of course, I was always Uncle Rico. That's how I always referred to me. Sweet kid, little boy. He's a nice man. Always never met someone who wasn't a friend, but I, we was all at the funeral and stuff, more of like a memorial, because his body was cremated, according to reports, or was passed on through the family. The body was too badly decomposed to have an open casket, so I guess his mom went with cremation. So we all traveled to where he was living in part of Texas, not far from Houston, and went down to the memorial on this past Saturday. And I wasn't sad or anything, because I was sad at the day that I received the news, which was, I guess, the 8th. Had to process it. then it hit me that I've lost one of my nephews. I only had two. And such a tragic and such a senseless old punk ass way of going out. And he went out, you know, by himself, alone. So, but, you know, after that, after about a couple of days, I was kind of like, you know, I wasn't numb anymore. Right, I already shed my tears. I was like, you know, I started thinking about him from a little kid to teenage years to young adult. And what I understood and what I know is that this whole topic of protecting black boys, and when Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu talks about if you want to destroy a man, if you want to have a broken man, you have to destroy him as a boy. And my nephew was destroyed as a boy. He wasn't a criminal. You know, he tried to participate in activities that he wasn't fit for. Y'all know them kids. One of those kids who was always just trying to fit in and be liked, and you know, and a lot of times when you go outside of your household with your self-esteem not intact, your validation not intact, your sense of belonging not intact, well, you tend to go out to the streets, and I don't care. The streets or semblances of the streets is undefeated. The streets never get it right. But when you believe that, I guess no one understands you or all of that, well, you tend to make choices based on what you have, information that you have, right? And so I you know, as a counselor for over 25 years, at least 25 years, I've always told my clients, it is our households that present us to the world. It is our households that present us to the world. Meaning, whatever images, whatever messages and cues, whatever modeling that's done around children by the grown people, that is the only information that the children have and they'll grow up with. And so unless there's an intervention through therapy or counseling, or someone enters their lives to say, hey, this is not how this is supposed to go, you know, they take that information out into the world. And good luck. Now, if you come up in a household where people are loving, supportive, wonderful, affectionate, well, guess what? The world appreciates that. But also, even if you come out like that, there are people in the world who are just not right. They're savage. They're unloved. They're inhumane. They're just sons of bitches wreaking havoc on society. And sometimes your wonderfully raised sons and daughters will come out here and meet these SOBs. My nephew always struggled with identity. He always not his sexual identity, none of that. Identity about who he was. Because that all ties into why it's so important that we try to bring it into this single motherhood foolishness. Because when children don't know who they are, you know, especially boys, it's important that boys know who their fathers are, who they are. It is very important. And it's so unfortunate that it's become the norm that these chicks come out here and get pregnant by any and everybody, and then have the audacity not to teach the children who their fathers are in a way in which it makes them accountable in the situation. Meaning, well, your dad wasn't nothing. He left you. He left us. They talk about him like that. But how did he become your child's father? They don't ever take responsibility or accountability for how that man was chosen. So, or they just say, no, they don't say anything at all. Because something about women, they do not like that. They will not make themselves look bad, even to the point of destroying their own children. Emotionally damaging their own children to save their own pride. They will not tell the truth. They will not tell the truth. Because if they told the truth, it makes them look like the irresponsible people that they were. when creating, when choosing a man or mate to have that kid with. So my nephew was a victim of that. He came up in a household, single mother, my sister, single mother, always chaos, always mental unrest, always uncertainty. He came up in a house with him, his mom, and his 3 sisters. No man, no masculine stability, no stability most of the times. So he had to grow up with the tools that he was given, which is not really much. And so he took that out into the world. And unfortunately, he didn't fare very well out there. No drugs, possible diagnosis of mental illness going on. You know, he made choice, became a father or somebody, some little female decided it was okay to have a baby with him. And then she kept the kid away from him. And that just broke him into pieces, just tore him apart. So, you know, they do what they can to try to make themselves feel better. You know, and we had contact over the years until they moved around a lot too, as little kids. Never had just a stable place. And he had to suffer through poverty and emotional neglect. Just like all his siblings, but I'm just talking about him. You know, these things I know. He went through all of that. And was expected to be a functioning adult. Well, based on my therapeutic assessment, clinical assessment, he was a 30-year-old. He was a 30-year-old, 16-year-old. Because when you're growing up in trauma and poverty, that stops your development. And then you grow up with the feeling of not really feeling loved and accepted, you know, by society or by your household, made fun of. You know, that all weighs in. And so when we say protect black boys, that's for real. You have to pour that same self-esteem, that same love, that same affection, that same validation into your boys, the way they're always trying to promote. Protect black women, protect black girls. Well, the girls are fine. They've gotten so much attention. They've got so much affection, so much validation that they don't even know what to do with it. They're still choosing to be single mothers, thoughts, twerkers, public twerkers, tattooed up. All this attention, all this affection. And we still try to tell, society still tries to tell us or demand that these boys who they're not nurturing, who they're not building with, at least making sure they have a masculine figure, a father in their lives, tell them to grow up to protect who? Come on. If you want protection, you have to start out protecting your children. And that was my nephew was a victim of. So at the funeral, you know, I was just there. I guess it's the right thing to do, to be there, but I wasn't really feeling it. I wasn't, because, yeah, you know, you have family dissension and stuff, you know. And I came up with a family with majority women. There was hardly any masculine energy around there. The masculine energy came from the women because of the choices they made in their lives to be single mothers with the wrong people. That's what you have. When you have women, just women running everything, it's chaos. And we're going to have to start admitting that. There's nothing cool about single motherhood. House full of women, and so that means chaos. And boys have to suffer through that. Girls have to suffer through that. And they grow up being the very women today who are unmarriageable. They was raised by a bunch of bossy, angry, fussy, frustrated women. And so you have these boys out here who are angry, frustrated, confused. And my just hurt all the time, just hurt. I'm sure now, I'm sure he had his fun days, his happy days in the life that he was able to create based on information that he had. But, you know, drugs and mental illness was a part of his life. Because I didn't get a chance to see him in a long time because he always moved around. And I lived here. he lived with my brother and I for a little while, but he in his mind, he just can understand, but there's a particular discipline and particular structure that we had, a particular standard that we had as relates to behavior and expectations, and he at the time didn't want to follow that, so ended up back in Memphis. And he was mad at us for a long time for that. I guess he was accusing us like I guess not wanting him or something. That wasn't it. He never grew up in a male structure, so he didn't understand how men worked. So he rebelled. It meant he was going to do him. And so, but we, as men, boys don't get to just do them. So went back to Memphis, which, is a hellhole in itself for black males. But what urban inner city isn't, though? Metropolitan city isn't. So, I wasn't feeling it at the funeral, and certainly I don't do eulogies. Because I remember when I was in high school, junior high school, and one of our friends, his name was Emmett. Emmett was accidentally killed by his younger brother. And we were all at his funeral. Everybody from all the surrounding high schools and junior high schools that knew him packed the church. And we were all, we were very sad and everything because he was a real likable guy, very nice dude. Man, wow. So we were just shocked and just brokenhearted over how he passed away and how, how all that happened. We couldn't believe that he wasn't there anymore. So we had a bunch of teenagers. Teenagers in the church. And this old Negro preacher, instead of just doing a eulogy about Emmett, I'll never forget, he decided to do what he wanted to do. And these are the words that came out that old Negro preacher's mouth. I know I ain't gonna get this time again. I got all these young people up in this church. They ain't rarely here. So let me tell y'all one thing, young people, if you ain't right with God, you gotta make sure you get right with God. No, he tried to start, recruit for church and recruit for Christ. We weren't there for that shit. We were there to hear each one of us get up and talk about what we missed, what we're gonna miss, what we loved about our friend. And a lot of churches do this, put up a Negro preacher who don't know anything about the deceased, and he want to do his own thing. And you ain't right with God. It's time for you to go and get it together and all that shit. And so, every funeral I've gone to, both family members or whatever, with the exception of my aunt, I did the eulogy there. With my aunt's funeral, my Aunt Pat, rest in peace. I did her eulogy. Shout out to my cousin Jack for asking me to do that. But when a Negro preacher gets up, or one who claimed to be a Negro preacher gets up on the podium and start doing a eulogy, I immediately excuse myself because I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear nothing. Don't tell me about I don't want to hear nothing that comes out of a Negro preacher's mouth. And so that's what I did. Well, my sister's husband, who claims to be a minister at their white church, got up and gonna try to eulogize my nephew. He didn't know him like that. I got up, got my ass up out of there. I took a stroll down in a little town, just started noticing the peacefulness of that town. I was gone for like 10, 15 minutes probably. Give him a chance to get that crap over with and come on back so it can be over. And then according to a couple of reports, it's like, he didn't really stay on topic. He ain't even mention LaTerrell. Yeah, I know. That's how Negro preachers do. They try to promote themselves off the backs of the deceased. And I wasn't finna listen to that shit. So I left. And I came back when he was done, finally done. We got through. And so, as I said earlier, I wasn't sad anymore. It's almost like a relief, because not because he was like doing criminal stuff and all that. No, he was just in them streets, because I knew my nephew was hurting. and his mom had no answers for him. But of course, they'll say that, during the last week or so of his life, they spoke with him and all of that. And I too spoke with him. May 25th, I texted him because my mom said, "Hey, Rico, what's going on with that picture of him?" Because he rarely smiled and in his pictures on Facebook page. So I went and looked at the picture and I explained to her. She said, well, what's going on in that picture? I said, it looks like hurt and untreated mental illness and disillusionment. Just the picture. When you look into his eyes always looked not dead, but with not very much emotions in his pictures. You know how people just take those pictures, they do this straight face? It just, and it didn't look healthy. And so I texted him. And I said, "Hey, what's up?" No, I put a message on that post, or his profile picture. I guess it was his new profile picture. Say, "Hey, what's up, bro? It's Uncle Rico. Get at me." And sent it to his instant message, and he hit me back. I sent him my number. Hit me back. We began to text. Asked him what he was doing and how was he doing and what was going on in his life and stuff. And it sounded like he was on an upswing, trying to create a business and all of that. And so I asked him if was he available to talk. He said no, he had company at that time. So on May 26th, we were able to talk. We talked about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Me, I'm asking questions like, "How you doing, son? Taking medication? Doing drugs?" Like, "No, Uncle Rico, I'm good, man. Some of the medication they give you," because he explained that he made a trip to one of the hospitals there based on, I guess, an episode he was going through, and the police there took him to the hospital to get a mental health assessment and get checked out. And he said he was prescribed some medication. I asked him if he was taking it. He's like, "Yeah, Uncle Rico, but the medication made me feel like the other stuff." And I know what he's talking about. Probably made me feel like the same high or up or down, depends on what the meds were. But he said, "Yeah, I'm trying to get my business started, and I gave these lawyers $679 to start me an LLC, but it's been 6 months." I said, "Son, you ain't have to give them any money. You got your money back?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "I can show you how to do it. I can print off the documents. I can fill them out over the phone. You tell me what you want to put on there. And all you do is pay the $300 fee for Texas. And then some other stuff that went in the application that I have that I was going to pretty much do it for him, to get him started." And so this was the 26th. A few days went by. I actually printed off the documents. And it got all the way up to I think around the 6th or the 7th, I said, "Man, let me call this brother. Let's go ahead and get this thing started." And on the morning of the 8th, my brother called me, with tears, kind of crying a little bit, and told me they had passed away. But I remember that phone call that we had, and, things appeared to be on the up and up for him. And so it was, I don't feel bad about it. Because some people are like, "Well, maybe if I had only known, or maybe if I had said this," and I've often shared with folks, whenever your last conversation, whenever your last contact with the person who's passed away, look back on that and see how was that interaction? Was it positive? Was it awesome? Something like that. But that was your goodbye. And so, because he and I hadn't spoken on the phone in quite a while, and so that was just us reconnecting and talking and making plans to do that with him, and and I said, and he was telling me some things he was doing. And I said, "So where you working now, son?" and all that, because he was telling me all the stuff he was trying to do and that required money. I said, "So what you doing, son?" So, "Oh, no, I don't work, but I'm taking care of my business, though, Uncle Rico." So and so, but over the years, he would call me. He would call my mom. Call me, just out the blue. That's probably when he was going through his stuff. And whenever he's going through it, he'll call my mom. You know, he'll probably call his mom too. We don't know, you know, because she never shared that. But I know he'll call my mom, and my mom will say, "Hey, he called me," or he'll call me because my number never changed. And the few times he called me, you know, we just talk about what's going on with him. Or I just listen, because you ask, well, what is it I could have done, you know, to make, you know, what is it that I could have done differently? Say you could have done anything differently, because the book of life is already written, and the chapters are already laid out, and the words are already there. So you just go along, you just following the script called life. Nothing you could have said. Even if y'all ended on bad terms, that's just how it was. There's no need to feel guilty about that, because everybody's time is coming. So I guess it would behoove all of us to try to have as many positive endings to our interactions, you know, just in case. And so I remember when he called me, it was like at night, late at night, like 10. And I picked up, I said, "Hey, Uncle Rico." Uncle Rico, I said, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And we were just talking, and this is one of the times, you know, he's grown and everything, of course, but he was just kind of rambling, and I understood he was just rambling. I didn't keep saying, "So what you say, son? What you say?" I didn't, because I understood. When people are in trouble, they don't really want to hear you give them advice or anything. They just want to hear you listen to them. And so whenever he called me, I just listened. And I would interject a couple of things, but I just listened to him whenever he called. And one of those last times before this May 26th phone call, he said, "Uncle Rico, you know, you tried to tell me when I was little, when I was growing up, you know, you tried to tell me, you told me the truth. You know, you was right, Uncle Rico. You were right. Everything you tried to tell me, you was right." And so I wish I had listened, but I'm just here to tell you, you were telling the truth. And I said, "Sorry, man. You know, never too late to listen." So when you're an adult and you're telling a kid something, they hear you. Just like we hear when grown people's telling us something. But, you know, they make a choice. They're like, "Well, not now. I'll use it later." But I appreciated it, you know, but what I appreciate is that he actually let me know that I wasn't saying anything wrong to him when I gave him particular advice or tried to tell him differently about what he was doing or how he was thinking. You know, that helped me out a lot. He said, "Uncle Rico, you were telling the truth. You know, you always tried to tell me this, that, and you know, I should have listened to you." I said, "Sorry, man." So, you know, and my other nephew told me the same thing not too long ago. "Uncle Rico, you telling the truth, man. You know, you trying to tell me." So I'm glad that I got that. I've gotten that. Because when I say something, it's not to dissuade you or how can I say, discourage you from continue to live and do I guess what you want to do. I'm trying to encourage you to do things that you don't have to do, not to do things you don't have to do and go down the wrong path. That's the job of grown people, uncles, parents, people walking down the street like it was when we were kids. Those of us who are 50 or 45 and 50 and up. People always try to tell, as they say, tell children the right way. But when you got a lot of other stuff on your mind, you know, everything else appears to be just white noise. And it's like, you know, what you, no, I don't need to hear that right now. I'm on a mission. I'm doing what I'm doing, you know. So I'm glad that he understood that I was as your uncle. I'm here to tell you the truth. I'm not a parent, because parents, you know, children tend to ignore them, all the stuff they try to teach them, and rightfully so. Some of these parents are whack. So I'm gonna tell the children anything, you know, and all this mess about, you know, being a single mother. I did the best I could. Well, a lot of time to be your best isn't that great. That's why I take, you know, people having children so seriously, because I don't think people respect the psychology and the development of children. when you choose to have a kid as a teenager, when you choose to have a kid get pregnant as a single woman with no man and nobody around, that lets me know that all you care about is yourself. You don't care about the child. Because if you actually believed in God and you believed in family and what your Bible said, how family is supposed to be, you wouldn't become a single mother. And all you geniuses out there talking about, well, you know, a woman's biological thing, it compels her to want to become a mother. Yeah, sure. But there's also rules and instructions to becoming a mother, but that's been completely ignored. And so we got so many black children, or children period, but I'm talking about my nephew and other boys like him that's growing up even as we speak. They don't have the advantage of having a stable household, a stable home, a place of validation and acceptance and self-esteem boosting. All they have is a place of chaos and expectations of what they need to do and all this kind of stuff. So that's what uncles come in at, and aunts. You know, and I try to be that uncle and say, hey, you may not like what I'm saying, but just tell me when I start lying. That's all I ask. Tell me when I start lying. Who's this? Mary Max, what's good? Good morning. And so my nephew told me, Uncle Rico, you never lied. And my delivery, well, we're going to have to get past this delivery argument. It's not what you say, it's how you said it. So, okay, we're going to grow up past that too. So because someone said the truth in a harsh way, you're going to ignore it? That's childish. I might hear the truth, it stings, but I'll process it, and I'm like, okay. Now to flat out rebel the truth because somebody said it in a rough tone, there's something wrong with you. You're a child. And that's what kids do. We got grown people who ignore the truth because of how it's delivered. Where they do that at. And so, you know, my nephew is not here anymore. You know, just like a lot of nephews that won't be here this weekend. And when we need to start paying attention to how our race is supposed to survive. Our race can't survive on girls. You know, if the girls become mothers, they need men. You know, if the women talking about they want protection, you got to protect the boys. You got to groom them like they're going to be the future hunter-gatherers, protector, providers. You can't groom them to be a mama's boy and only look out the mama and only protect his sisters. He got to be a man of the world because he's going to get a wife one day, or at least he should think about that. And then he'll know what to do. In order for that to happen, you have to have a great example, moms. You got to pick a man, one man. And if you're a single woman, if you had one child, keep it at one child. Don't have 4 kids by 5 different baby daddies like most of these black parents have done. Have all these multiple daddies, all these multiple personalities, multiple issues, multiple low self-esteem, multiple drama. You know, and keep your child or your children in an unstable environment. You don't know how to pick a decent man. My nephew had to suffer through all of that. And then we expected him to be a halfway functioning adult? No way. But that's how black folks think. They think if I feed you some kind of way, I house you some kind of way, and I clothe you some kind of way, you should grow up with good sense. That ain't parenting. That's maintaining a hamster. And we're going to learn what parenting is, even if we got to watch Asians, white folks, and other folks. Now, these people aren't perfect because their children around here shooting up schools and shit. But we're going to have to get some kind of example of what parenting is. Parenting. Do we understand what parenting is? Maybe every young woman who, when she decides to be somebody's mama, she needs to do a 10-page or 20-page paper on what parenting is and use keywords, psychology, sociology, social work. Maybe that'll help her. Because around here, having babies because you having sex, that's out of line. And my nephew's among many black boys who grew up who was brought here simply because the chicks were having sex or she got mental issues, want somebody to love and all that kind of shit. A lot of black children are born because on the mama's own loneliness. Oh, it's the weirdest thing. So they pick anybody. And here we are today, living in a society. Then we worry about some BS called Roe versus Wade. When the children that we're having aren't even born and being raised in healthy environments. Y'all want to ignore the Buffalo shooting and talk about some damn Roe versus Wade? How's that impacted black folks? And we just saw, and I'm going to do a whole video on this, how the white woman got up and Trump was back there in the back saying, "Thank you, President Trump, for preserving white lives." I'm going to do a whole video on that. And I wasn't shocked by that. So, at all. I understand white supremacy, what it really is. It's preservation. But we don't understand it. We're so busy not understanding anything in this country. So when stuff hit us, we actually shocked and surprised. Like, y'all need to read a book. And we really need to read a book on some parenting. What that is and what it entails. Because we're not doing a great job. When you decide to have a baby without a father, you are a piss poor parent off the rip. Because based on your religious belief, if you dare to say you're a Christian, you believe that Jesus is the center of your life and he died on the cross from you, by you becoming a single parent, you are a goddamn liar. And I'll continue to bash single motherhood because it is the worst thing that can happen to children of any race. But it has been becoming the norm. 80% of black children born to single mothers, not married women who get a divorce, women who don't have a husband, they ain't got a care in the world. Just because they're having sex, they think it's okay. They think it's okay to have a kid. Now, I understand that this was 1722 or 1822. But this is 1990. This is 1990s. 80s, 90s. Birth control been around forever. You got about 25 options for birth control. And then you decide as a woman, a female, teenager, grown, young adult or whatever, to have sex, unprotected sex, knowing you ain't in no birth control. And the first thing you want to do is have not just one by one dude, you're going to have 2, 3, 4 by others. And all of a sudden, I'm a single mother. And it's hard out here. Shut the entire fuck up, please. Well, what about the men? What about the men? They can't get no punani without your permission. And the woman controls all of that. So these children are brought here because of the selfishness of the women. They control whether or not they want a baby, they want to carry the baby, or if even baby be brought here. So I'm just over that. And Roe v. Wade is basically loose women's get out of pregnancy free card. Instead of just, oh no, I'm gonna save it. I'm not gonna do that on here. I'm talking about my nephew, but it's in kind of in tangent and kind of in concert with what, in my opinion, what happened to him. You know, again, he was a very loving dude, a sweet young man. He was just a fit in. He always just trying to belong somewhere. Because when you don't teach your children, your boys, your girls, you know, if you don't teach them about who they are and where they come from, let them know who their dad is. You know, that's a problem. That bothers people. That bothers children. And then how about if the child asks you, single mama, well, who my dad and what my dad is? And you get an attitude with him, but that sends them to deeper depression, deeper anger. He had to go out here in society and try to deal with. Because we don't preach counseling, you know, to our children. We'll go to therapy, work it out. You know, this anger. We don't do that. They have to get, a lot of these boys, when they get counseling, they have to get caught up in the criminal justice system in order to get counseling. That needs to stop. Counseling needs to be a part of our whole life, like breathing. Because we come up in a whole lot of weirdness. And people don't want to address it because the black community has been ran majority by women. And it's been funded to be that way. So don't tell me about what men ain't doing. Men can't do nothing that a woman don't want to. She decides she want to have have a baby by a married man. She decides she want to have a baby by a drug dealer. She decides she want to have a baby by somebody who's mentally ill. She decides she want to have a baby by a dude that's already got 4 other baby mamas. She decides that based on whatever weird information that she has or expectations she has for a man who's obviously unavailable. She decides to have a baby when she's in the 9th grade. She decides. So I don't want to hear that. It's dumb. It's time we get past that. And ladies, y'all gonna have to learn this cuss word in y'all life called accountability. And what I don't understand is why 40-year-old women aren't teaching young girls anymore. You're not teaching them morals and values. You're letting Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion teach your girls. You're letting city girls and all of the tramps like Rihanna and all these people teach your daughters instead of giving them real women to look up to. You're not. You're not helping. And who are the role models for your sons when they don't have fathers? Where everybody in society was very, other than their father. Yeah, always talking about my son need a mentor. How about you start with his first mentor? That's his father, lazy helper. I'm sick of y'all don't know how many things I'm so sick of. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of the excuses. I'm sick of the non-accountability of women. I'm sick of the attack on black men and black boys. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Because people like my nephew have to suffer. They make choices when they get grown based on this misinformation. And people like your nephew, like your sons, black boys across urban America, are here hurt and angry because she decided to. Don't tell me about, well, what if the father ain't gonna be there? Well, let me know when your husband ran off on you. If you ain't have no husband, don't tell me about no man running off from no damn child. That wasn't his in the first place. That was yours. Because if you want the child to be your man, to be that man's child, you get pregnant by a husband helper. Yeah, I said it. And see, I ain't gonna hear this in church. You create the chaos when you choose not to have your baby by a husband, by your husband, under your belief system, under what God tells you to do. So you go against God, you create chaos. That's how I view it. You don't care about the child. All you care about is yourself. Look at social media. You got parading these little children around. Not for the little children, but for themselves. They don't care. It was a horrible way in which my nephew went out, was taken out, snuffed out, however you want to do it, killed, murdered. It's terrible. But he's in a long line of black boys who grow up to be 30-year-old boys. He never got a chance to fulfill his life as a man. He never got a chance to see what it feels like to be a man. He was never equipped for that. Because we have boys raising around a lot of feminine energy when a man tries to tell them they're rejected because the woman in their lives have rejected men. And so the boys become self-hating. They reject anything that with a bass in his voice. They become very defensive, and you ain't gonna tell me what to do. Yeah, they get like that because they grew up in a household where the mother didn't even try to provide at least some kind of masculine something in their household. And it's a shame why the lives of black boys are just so damn near predetermined. But anyway, I digress. I just wanted to get this off my chest. And yes, so those of you, wow, he going out on women again. Yeah, men don't get pregnant. Why not? Don't make no damn sense. You brag about having all this goddamn education. You boss bitches, yes, hunty, and all this shit around here, and creating nothing but chaos out your cooch. Not halfway raising your children and letting and think your boys are supposed to be your son husbands, like they supposed to carry the load because you weren't smart enough or woman enough to procure an actual man or a husband for you to have your children, so your sons got to be the ones to have this heavy expectation to take care of his mama at 10 years old, at 14 years old, at 15 years old. Because your lazy ass cannot get a decent man. You so busy trying to get your coochie wet that you ain't even take the time to find an actual father for these children. 80%, over 74% of black kids born to single mothers. We're still not concerned about that? Then she had the nerve not have one, not have two, not have three, not have 4, 5 and 6 damn kids by 7 different baby daddies, and we think that's all right. And for the women who don't approve of their behavior, where are your voices? Why aren't y'all getting on these young girls? Why don't y'all get on these women, tell them to get off their backs and stand on their goddamn feet for a change? Because it is very possible in 2022 to have all the sex you want and nobody ever has to get pregnant. You know how I know this? Because there are hundreds and thousands of young women who have sex weekly, daily, and ain't had no baby, ain't never been pregnant. But you got this subculture in the black community. They have bought into this whole idea. Then when they have a baby, they get some money from the government, free stuff. And that's what's driving all this pregnancy out of wedlock and having children being born to unprepared mentally, emotionally, educationally. Unprepared people. I'm about to sneeze. And this has to be addressed. I don't have a platform, but y'all know enough celebrities that y'all can say, hey, can y'all say something about this? Get it out there. But celebrities not going to say anything. The rich people are not going to say anything because their customers are the broken people in society. So to say anything that sounds like a Yala Van Zandt or Dr. Jawanda Kunjufu or what Rico is talking about, it comes across as insulting. You're attacking people and all that. So they'll lose their customer base. That's why the preachers don't tell the truth to these women, because they'll lose their customer base. I don't have a customer base. All I have is my damn self. Don't nobody hit my Cash App. Nobody bought shit from me. Thank you to those 12 people that bought my book, though. When it's actually a good book, I'm going to get it republished. It's actually a damn good book. It should be 12,000 people that bought the damn thing. But let me see. I know. Rico is your delivery. You be talking about everybody, fine. You be talking about, different groups and religions and all that. Yeah, I do. Because America is broad and vast. We can talk about whatever we want to. Should talk about it. So I'm going to end it right here. Mary Max, if you're on here, call me good when I hang this live up. Rest in peace to my nephew. I told him I loved him when he was here. And I still love him now. But I'm sad that he had to live a life in turmoil and hurt and anger and confusion, all because he was trying to find, that really pure sense of love for within and with peers or whatever, So peace, little nephew, or my adult nephew. So y'all be cool. Talk to y'all in the future. Peace.